Booker, Hodges, Hodges, Assistant Commissioner, Minnesota Department of Public Safety. Amelia, Amelia, Huffman, Huffman, Deputy Chief, Professional Standards, Minneapolis Police Department. Matt Langer, Mattlanger, Colonel, Minnesota State Patrol. David Hutchinson, Hutchinson, Sheriff, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. And present but here for support is General Shawn, Shawn, Manke, Manke. Thank you.
Good morning or afternoon. I don't know what time it is. My name is Booker Hodges. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. And today we just want to say thank you for all the people that came out and exercised their First Amendment right in a peaceful manner. Unfortunately, there were those that decided not to do that. And the plans that we had put in place over the last few months were executed. And today you're going to hear about some of the things that took place tonight. But for months we've been saying that riotous behavior is just not going to be tolerated, and unfortunately tonight that is some of the things that we encountered. So with that, we'll turn it over to Hennepin County Sheriff Dave Hutchinson.
Hello, Sheriff Dave Hutchinson. Again, I just want to talk about the operation tonight. Our goal was to maintain peace. It was a long night. The deputies, troopers, DNR officers, and cops from all over the region came out here. I'll let Colonel Langer touch more on that, but the transition from the scene to the jail with transports went fairly well. Again, some officers were injured from the debris that was thrown at them. But I think Colonel Langer is going to discuss that. Long night, but I think we maintained as much order as we could. And hopefully tomorrow night is nice and relaxed and people remain law-abiding tomorrow. And I think I'm going to introduce Colonel Langer next. Thank you.
Good morning, Matt Langer with the Minnesota State Patrol. As others have indicated, we were closely monitoring the events today and early last night into last evening and early this morning, and we were monitoring particularly what was going on in the city of Brooklyn Center, around the Brooklyn Center Police Department, and had been requested to assist. And so around the police department we had the Minnesota State Patrol, the DNR conservation officers, the West Mobile Field Force Command made up of the suburban agencies in Hennepin County, and others were focused on protecting the Brooklyn Center Police Department. Before 7 o'clock and the curfew was imposed, I myself reached out and talked to an organizer who was out at the scene and asked for some help in figuring out how we could peacefully resolve the crowd and to start helping encourage people to go home under their own free will before there was any talk of enforcement action. Others within the Department of Public Safety were also engaged with folks that were out there organizing the group. And our mobile field force commander actually met with one of the individuals on the scene about 7 o'clock and tried to talk about how we could do this peacefully tonight without the use of any chemical munitions, without the use of any enforcement. And unfortunately, those efforts weren't successful, and those organizers weren't able to influence the desires of the crowd to leave. And so the troopers and the officers, deputies, conservation officers stood and protected that building courageously and bravely, and were shelled pretty significantly with objects by the crowd. At one point the crowd was pushing against the fence, and the fence gate swung open. There were some fireworks, there were lasers, and there was enough activity to certainly go well against what we've been saying all along that we would not tolerate. And so decisions needed to be made to push that crowd back from the fence and to begin to disperse the crowd and make arrests for the criminal activity that was putting people in harm's way and prohibiting those that were there to assemble peacefully. And on top of all of that, of course, in violation of the curfew order that had started at 7 p.m. So in totality, there are about 40 arrests that were made, some cited, some booked in jail for things all the way from curfew violations to riot. We'll have better numbers in the morning. There were a few officers involved with the incident that were hit by some debris and suffered just real minor injuries. We're not aware of any protesters that were injured, and order was restored for the most part. There were some occurrences of looting around the Brooklyn Center area in the city of Minneapolis. It was pretty limited and sporadic in nature, and the Operations Safety Net team was able to respond quickly and quell those areas and take people into custody where they could. With that, I think I'll turn it over to the Minneapolis Police Department with Chief Huffman for some comments.
Thank you. I'm Deputy Chief Amelia Huffman from the Minneapolis Police Department. I appreciate you being here at this time of the morning. I'm happy to report that there were only 5 business burglaries reported in Minneapolis so far tonight. These include a liquor store at 2200 West Broadway, the Target Express at 1300 West Lake, the tobacco store at 46th and Nicollet, an auto zone at 26th and Central, and a shoe store at 43rd and Nicollet. We're thankful that there's been limited damage to our business corridors tonight. Minneapolis police officers were able to respond quickly to these calls, and we did make some arrests, including 4 for burglary, 2 after officers in South Minneapolis heard shots being fired and chased some individuals and recovered a gun, 6 for curfew, and 1 for an outstanding warrant. We're grateful to our law enforcement and National Guard partners and to our community, and we're looking forward to a calm day in Minneapolis tomorrow, where our community members can gather and assemble and make their voices heard. Thank you.
It depends on the violation. So if they're for curfew, they'll be cited and released. But if the violation's a gross misdemeanor or a felony, they'll obviously be in there for a bit. So it really depends. I think most of the charges were not felonies, so I think that's probably it. What's that? Absolutely. I think the West Command is going to be staged at Brooklyn Center. And of course, we'll have other resources throughout the county and the Twin Cities to make sure that we maintain peace.
Do you know the extent of damage to the Dollar Tree in Brooklyn Center?
There was damage, yes.
The extent of it?
I don't know the extent of it. I think it was significant.
Okay. And I couldn't hear, did you say there's going to be a curfew tomorrow?
Well, I can.
Are there plans for a curfew tomorrow?
I'm not sure. That would be through the mayor's or the governor's office.